Okay, now we're going to look at starting to draw in Illustrator. So the first thing we need to do is make sure the sketch that we placed is the right size. So this should be, we're going to draw in half scale. So that means this should be half the size of the full size package. So this should be 4 inches wide, and you can see that it's saying it's 2 inches, so I want to make sure I've got the transform palette open. I'm just going to set this to 2, and I'll use that as my key. I'm going to select the sketch. I'm going to hold down the shift key and scale up. That constrains it. Scale up. And I'll use the arrows to nudge it. Scale it up again. Holding down the shift key. A bit more. Pretty close. Close enough for this. Okay. Next thing I'll do is I'm going to lock the sketch layer because I want to get rid of this rectangle first. Then I'm going to lock the sketch layer because I'm just using it as reference, and I'm going to draw on the drawings layer. So this is a symmetrical object. So the best thing to do is the sketch, even just looking at it, I can see I'm not quite symmetrical in my drawing, but I want it to be symmetrical. So I'm just going to draw 1/2 of the shape, and then I'll create a copy and connect them. So I'm going to take the pen tool, start up at the top. You hold down shift whenever you have a purely horizontal or purely vertical line. For this point I'm going to click and I'm going to drag a little bit to add the Bezier handles. Both places, you want them to be as symmetrical as possible. I'm still holding down shift, and I want to add a handle here even though there's no curve, because I want the curve to line in basically from the straight line into a curved face. It's always good to have a handle, otherwise you get a little bit of a corner there. I'm going to add another handle here in the middle, and I'm going to finish. You can see I'm getting a little cue where it's lining up, and I'm going to add a handle here, and I'm going to hold down shift again so that it's completely horizontal, the handles. I'm going to let go, I'm going to hit escape, and now so I have half a shape here. Now if I go to the reflect tool, double click on it, make sure it's vertical because I want it to reflect off the vertical axis. Click copy. That creates a duplicate of it. And I line these two up. I can zoom in here and make sure with the black arrow that I'm completely lining up to get the intersect cue. You can also toggle Command Y, which gets rid of all the artwork, and all you see is the line. So this looks good. So then I take the white arrow, because now I want to join these two, and select those two endpoints. You can see all the other endpoints are white. And I'm going to go to Object, Path, Join, or Command J. Zoom out. I'm going to zoom in here, use the white arrow again, go Command J. So now this is one shape. And so that's basically creating a reflected image. So I have a symmetrical object. Now I can basically go through and do that for the rest of this. The other thing I can do is, like, for a perfect circle, I wouldn't want to create a reflection. I'll just draw a circle there, but I want to make sure it's centered. So I can do one of two things. I can either center them afterwards, or I can create a guide now that I see the center here. Okay, so now I have a guide here. And then I can take and select the ellipse tool, basically line it up Option. Now I'm holding down the Option key because that means it draws from the center instead of from the upper left corner to the lower right. And I get it to the size I want it. You can see, again, my sketch is just a sketch. I can look at the transform tool and see it's 0.9 inches, which is kind of an odd measurement, so I'm going to make it 1 inch. Although, actually, let's do this first. This tells it the reference point that it transforms from, and we want it to grow from the center because we centered it. So just select that first. Now it'll increase in size directly from the center, and I go 1, hit the tab key, 1. Okay, so now it's centered. We can verify. Yep, okay. And then if we want to create another circle, we can edit, copy, edit, paste in front. That makes an exact scaled object. So I've got a copy sitting right on top of the other copy. Then if I hold down Option again and Shift to constrain it, now I can scale down and it'll stay centered right on the first one. Then I can look at the size and say, okay, so 0.325 is 3/8, so that means it would be 3/4, which is again a more regular size. I'm also noticing that I'm getting, when I scaled it down, it scaled the strokes, and so that means that scale, stroke, and effects is on. So if I select that and go to scale, just double click, and this is just where you can go to turn this off. Turn that off, leave it at 100%. Now it'll go to default. Then I can select all of these and set them all to the same size despite them having been scaled up and down, because you want the same line weight for everything. Okay, so there's drawing symmetrical objects. If we turn off the sketch layer, we can see it's looking pretty good.